So today we're starting with the topic, why do men cheat? And I have brought very, very reputable men from China, different parts of China, so that we can discuss this. Some are married, some are single, so they'll give different points of view for us to be able to address this issue. So we have Evan, we have Gideon, and we have Fifi. So we're going to start with our first question. And the first question is, why do men cheat?
Ella, if you are talking about men cheating, then you probably have to start from the married men, because they are the ones married. It's only married people who cheat. It's only married people who cheat. You cannot be a single man and be cheating. How can a single man cheat?
Please, don't start with this controversy. single men cheat all the time.
Ella, you know, my first I was going to ask that question. Is it cheating when you're single?
Of course, you're in a relationship. You are in a committed relationship, and so once you are unloyal, you are cheating. You are not faithful to one person. You are cheating. So it doesn't bind only married men.
Mr. Nikwe, why do men cheat? Is it a lack of emotional connection or just pure attraction? Why exactly do we find our men cheating?
Well, thank you very much. Previously, you wouldn't hear about this issue about cheating and doing other things, because if I'll go a little back in the olden time, our fathers used to be the breadwinners of the home. So everything was seen as manly, if I will, or masculine or whatever it is. But in recent times, by the grace of God, after the Beijing conference or before, we know our women are able, they are capable, so they have been empowered. And most of them have shown that what a man can do, a woman can do. So they have developed their own careers. They become busy supporting the same men who supposedly are cheating. So there's come a little bit of, if I'll say, a lack of communication and need for the men. Now, naturally, when it comes to emotional and sexual needs or satisfaction, men are very vulnerable, or men need it most. Let me give you a simple scenario. Now, basically, a man's system, a man's system is like a fountain that has a waterfall. And every time there is drop, it gets to a time the tank gets full, and then it needs to be emptied. I discussed this with my wife, and then she simply said, so am I the refuse dump for you to be dumping your things in me when it's full? We've had this discussion before. So for me personally, I've had a discussion with my wife, so she knows that, oh, as a man, I have needs. So I wouldn't take some of these things outside. But then unfortunately, I think out of some few reasons that will come later on, most men are not able to discuss this with their spouse, or their spouse are too busy ignoring the signs, or even when they've discussed with them. So it gets to a point that a man needs to, 1, empty his tank. 2, he has emotional needs that needs to be satisfied, that are being ignored. Or 3, he is not being celebrated to the point that he thinks he needed to. And then he seeks those satisfaction outside. There are major reasons why men cheat. But then I want to begin with this, that when we come to the main flimsy excuses that men cheat, that I can list some of them for you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's go to Fifi. In your opinion, why do men cheat? Is it about physical attraction? Is it an emotional something?
Ella, for this question you are asking, I'm trying not to move into a tangent where I will appear to be rationalizing why men would want to cheat, or why men do cheat. But in as much as we try to tame men into a one-to-one mapping, so to speak, it is very clear that as human beings as we are, biology says that we are basically on top of the tree in terms of that order. And it does not exist anywhere to find the male having a one-to-one mapping to a female. It does not exist anywhere, unless probably you are talking about trees. Even for trees, a lot of them, our basic biology tells us that there is the movement of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower. And there's cross-pollination and there's self-pollination. So when it comes to the issue of cheating, I think that it has become a bigger subject because we are trying our best to restrict men to a one-to-one mapping. And this is basically becoming a big problem. And by extension, that is why we are having the proliferation of the side chick industry. You know, someone would say, oh, you are trying to rationalize it, but go back in time and you would realize that the man is not in any way, right from the beginning. Someone would make a case for Adam and Eve. But take Adam and Eve out, if you enter into your Bible, you would find several instances of one to many, one to two, one to several, even to somewhere close to about 1 to 1,000 mapping. And then when you come down, you could even, in your own locality, our grandfathers had 1 to 3, had 1 to 5. You know, and in as much as this, someone would say, okay, the fact that you have numbers does not mean that you wouldn't still go out. In essence, the quantity of women a man has does not stop him from having the edge to add on to the number that he has. Which means that at any point in time, for a man, except for various reasons for which some people define it as spiritual reasons, religious reasons, a man by default is always looking for another mating partner. And that mating partner does not necessarily has to be based on emotions. That's not the key word, is necessarily has to be on emotions, because basically for men, a man can have sexual intercourse with no strings attached, with no form of high level of emotions which links the man straight to what form of commitment or whatever to the woman. And in this case, you would say that, okay, if a man is cheating, there could be many reasons. Some ascribe the reasons to the woman, some ascribe the reasons to the fact that we are having a one-to-one mapping and the woman is unable to satisfy the needs of the man at some point. Some also say that, okay, men are still trying to be their biological self and we are trying to use societal rules, modern rules to restrict the man, and man is just finding an opportunity to exist.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So Gideon, also the same question, in your opinion.
So yeah, Fifi and Mr. Nikwe or Eben Nickson have touched on bits and pieces of what I want to say, and definitely I have more to add. So I'll categorize it into sociocultural and psychological. How am I saying sociocultural? Let me pick it from where Fifi left off. We grew to see our parents, our great-grandparents, our grandparents having multiple spouses. So that is the men, not the women. Okay. And it wasn't like the women were sad. They were really happy. They were really content. We saw the family unit built together. We saw men being hailed for having many wives, many children, making it in life. Okay. So this is something we came to see, and naturally, socialization takes place, and we would like to be great. You know, man's need to be superior will come to play, and so naturally we tend to want to be superior and want to have more. Okay, so society, some way somehow expects men to do well. Okay, there is that other side of it, that mental. I don't want to go in there, where if you give, that is when you are a man. But if you don't give, I mean, forget about it. You are treated as trash. Okay, so that is what society has done. Want us to look for more. And then when it comes to the psychological, we know between men and women, between the two gender, men are more egoistic. And ego comes with the tendency to be superior, to have the final say. Okay, so where men get to the point where they want to show that, yes, I'm the man, I have options. Men will want to go in for more to satisfy that insatiable need to be superior, to be the man, to have the final say and all that. I believe as we go forward, and more will come. Like Mr. Nikwe said, there are a lot more flimsy ones, but I mean, these are the main ones, flimsy ones, such as it's the work of the devil and many others. But I think basically we give this to the psychological and the sociocultural, where naturally we tend to see it as the right thing. And so let's try to do it. Modernity and, let me say, civilization, where we now have ordinance, one-to-one mapping, has made it look like, okay, now if you take more, you are taken out of the church. But traditionally, culturally, that's what we came to meet.
But do you think that it is possible for a man to stick to one woman? But do we think it's in a man's DNA? Do we think it's in a man's nature? Is it possible for a man to stick to one woman? Eben, please, can you take that question?
All right. Let me start by referring to what my Honorable Fifi said, that men by default. There's nothing like men by default. Whatever default that is there, we came to meet it. It was created by the same men. So, you know, because everything by default, women also can also put their default there. Then the reason and the excuses go on. But then what I'll say is that we are all in denial. Men are in denial of the fact, and then they are taking the opportunity or the vulnerability of women, and then they are doing whatever they are doing. And then to some extent, we are just continuing the wrongdoings of our fathers and the society and other things we came to say. So now back to your question. There's a road that seems right to a man, but the end leads to destruction. What do you want in a woman? Why did you start with that first woman in the first place? And what is causing you to go out? Well, there are reasons why you may want to go out, like you want to say, well, the woman has gained weight and she's no more attractive. She's not nice to you because you saw your parents doing it. You start to have a little bit of fight and quarrel at home. And then you as a man, you begin thinking logically. You say, well, this is the only logical reason how I can keep my relationship, having my side chick and I'm being unfaithful and loving this thing. How do you love someone and leave the person? That's basic and simple. Don't love the person and threaten the person. By default, for me, there's nothing like default. You have to make a conscious decision to do that. My father, if I would say, he's a very great man, but then he gave birth to 3 women. You get me? I wasn't born in a mainstream marriage. I can say I was born out of wedlock because my mother wasn't the main person who was married. But I said to myself, this cannot continue. One, because I have suffered without hiding words. I have brothers and sisters who love me. They treat me nicely. But before we got to this stage, there were times I felt lonely. There were times that were difficult for me. I saw my other siblings doing things that I wish I had brothers and sisters who were of the same mother, father we could do. So I decided that I am not going to continue this that happened to my father for his own reason. You get me? So by my choice and by my personal decision, I am not going to engage in any extramarital activity, any cheating, any other things. So it calls for every other person to make that choice. There is no default. You make the default. You get me? So if you want to continue Honorable Fifi's this thing with the statistics that people are using to make their own money, I tell my wife, you stream on YouTube, you're helping people to make money. Go and read, let them get you confused. You think you're a man, you want to go outside. There are consequences at the end of the day that you are going to face. You become a constant lying person, manipulating, keeping secret. You have to check your phone. You see those men who leave their phones at home and the next moment they remember, Lord have mercy, they start running. You get me? I live in a home where the phone rings. My wife is like, can you please pick my phone? I'm like, my kids use my phone for doing other things. Imagine me going to cheat and then these things start running on my phone. My kids want to play things on my phone and those ladies send nudity and other things on my phone. What am I bringing to my home? You get me? So my point I'm saying is that don't follow the statistics. like Honorable Fifi is doing. Every statistics or everything is to make money for that researcher. Please make your own personal decision. Create your own generational trend that as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. There's not going to be any form of cheating in our family. Then you can say to your kid, look at me, you see how I lived? Irrespective of what happened in our family, we made a choice. And that choice came from us. And that brought us happiness. So please, there's nothing like default, sorry to say that, but there is the constant personal decision you will make that amidst all my friends and all that is going on all social media and all odds going against me, I have a commitment to make to this person I have dedicated myself and to live with. That is what maybe you can call a personal decision, not a default. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, before I go to Fifi, because let me just go back to the second one. Gideon, please.
Well, I don't have any scientific proof for, especially the DNA aspect. Yes, okay. But I use the word tendency, and you use the word possibility. Yes, it is highly possible, because I mean it's the willpower. It's like resolving to do something. You can do whatever you resolve to do. So possibly, yes, there is that possibility to stick to one person. But like I made mention from the beginning, what do I think is right, or what do I think? You know, when Abraham Nickson was speaking from his perspective, he suffered because he was, you know, sidelined. But what I saw, okay, that's why they are perspective. People see 9 as 6, people see it as 9, all that. What I saw, I feel that, I mean, for me to live long, for me to have comfortability, having multiple women will do me good, especially if I have money. And I tell you, people advise me to, I mean, me personally, okay, because we are speaking from our personal experiences, that if you have money, you know, that's where the problem comes from. That when you make money, you don't tell me from the beginning. I remember we had that argument. When you make money, I mean, leave it. Don't get depressed, because where one woman will get you depressed, you decide that man naturally wants to be comfortable. So we go out of our way to give that exuberance, that superiority to get more. But like you are saying, if there are conditions like I have one wife and I'm going to have that peace of mind, of course I'm going to tend towards one-to-one mapping. But I mean, you know my stance when it comes to having multiple, you know, wives. I mean, I believe that although there is that possibility, where our minds were, where we were socialized from, we saw having multiple women as something that will make you live long, that actually will give you blessings upon blessings. So yes, that is my perspective when it comes to possibility. So although it is possible, where my mind has been tuned to know, it gives me the tendency to move towards having the multiple. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Honorable Ela, if I may come in, the love of money is the root of all evil, right?
Yeah.
And then he began by saying, if I have money, you get me. And there is a saying in our society that, look, this man is humble because he is poor. When he becomes rich, then you see his true nature.
His true types.
Do you get me? And he has confirmed it by his saying that if. So it means if you don't have the money, there is a way you live. And then when you have the money, there is a way you live. So if you're a man and you dare say you're a man, why don't you live that life when you don't have the money? You see, but then you needed a booster. You get me? And that is the problem of our society. So we've preached to our young guys that, hey, when you're poor, you're humble. When you become rich, you're on top of the world, you're unstoppable. You get me? And they listen to us, especially some of these platforms. And then it gets into their head and they begin growing with it. You get me? You see a young man.
I'm not cutting you, but I don't see where the if makes any mistake or any error. Because of course you have to have the resources to take care of what you want. Okay. You need the resources. So if you don't have the resources, why go in for more women when you can't take care of them? So the if clauses come in, of course, they are relevant. Okay, so it's not like, I don't want you to let it seem like it's a wrong assertion. If you don't have money, you have no business going to get someone's hand in marriage and marry them. So I mean, that's just what I want to correct.
Okay.
So can you be honest? Just a quick one. Can you be a very true and an honest man every time you want to enter into a relationship and say to that young person, hey, I am with you only because of my state. When I become rich, I'm going to get more. So that lady will be aware. You get me? I'm looking at my other sisters too. You don't make the personal decision yourself and go and bring an emotional lady who thinks you are the only person, she's the only person. And then this if of becoming rich, and then she sees someone coming because she begins to pour out everything she's got into this relationship. I'm going to help my man achieve a dream. Now, why don't you bring those ladies, find those, hey, help me achieve my dreams and we're going to go together. So be the man, tell that lady at stage one that, hey, just accept me. If you want to accept, these are my conditions. When I become rich, I get more, I'm going to bring in more. You okay?
That is fair. That is fair.
Thank you very much.
I agree that the problem is where we don't make it known beforehand and then we change the behavior. And it's fair if you have that mindset.
Very good. And then please, another one too you made. You're saying people had a lot of wives and they lived well. I'm referring you to one Ghanaian rich man who was hospitalized recently and the video went viral. He married a lot of women. I don't know if you have heard it. Is it Alhaji Suma Banda or something? I may get the name. And I saw the video right at the hospital. Wives were fighting over his money. Right at the hospital. I don't know if any of you have seen this video.
I've seen it. I've seen that video too.
Exactly. How then do you encourage this thing in modern day when you have seen the evidence? This is true statistics. This is not a researcher telling you.
Okay.
A video.
Nickson, I really want to hear what let's hear what Fifi has to say because I'm very sure that
bad news travels. So of course you see it as a statistic. What about the good ones? Okay, so yes, there are pros and cons, but I will not put it aside as a wrong notion. You know, like I'm saying, is the perspective. Yeah.
Okay, Fifi, I know you have a lot to say. Please, be brief, but I would like to really hear what you have to say.
Well, Ella, see, this conversation is one that if you are not careful, you may end up putting on a particular lens and you would disregard reality and you enter into the realm of being ideal or looking for ideal situation. If I want to try and rebut some of the things that Gideon has said or what Eben has said, it will take us far back. But there are two key things I cannot ignore. Ella, the first one is that Eben makes an impression of wrongdoing by our fathers because they had multiple wives. I think this narrative is so not true. And you know, when we are having these conversations, I always say that let's go back. Ella, I'm sure you know your Bible very well, and your Bible makes you understand that if a man marries a woman, the woman's slave, if the woman permits, the man can take her into his bed. I'm sure you know that, right?
As you grow, actually, you wouldn't need more sex, but you need quality sex.
Life is stressful. Women make it interesting. Life is easy. Women make it complicated. In the midst of their complication, the fact that they make it interesting, we love them.